Stop trying to quiet your mind. I know that's the opposite of what every meditation teacher, therapist, and wellness podcast is telling you right now. Quiet your mind, slow your thoughts, breathe and let it go. But here's what nobody is telling you. The reason your mind won't stop racing isn't because you think too much. Your mind is literally designed to think. It's because you feel too little. And your body has been giving you and sending you signals this entire time. Information, data, ones and zeros, if you will. And most of us, especially the high-achieving, super self-aware, always-on ones, we've become so fluent in the language of thought that we've completely forgotten that there's a second language, the one that our body speaks. And now we live just above our neck and we've completely forgotten and have become disconnected from everything below the neck. I'm Sushmita, but you can call me Sushi, and on this channel I help you quiet your racing thoughts through the power of Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. And today I'm going to help you speak the language of your body again, because I know you're intelligent, I know you're analytical, I know you can process your feelings, I know you can talk about them beautifully and articulately, I know you can do all of this, but feeling them, genuinely actually being in your body and being present and grounded and alive in your own skin to know from a felt sense, I think we need to go into that a little bit more. But before we go that deep and we actually get into those things, if you've been following along my videos and you like to go beyond these 15-minute YouTube videos, the Yoga Mastery Program is where I guide my students exactly step by step through this kind of work. There is a supportive container and a link in the description below if you want to join that supportive container. But right now, let's look into what's actually happening and how to speak this second language. So let's dive in. So your body speaks two completely different languages. And most of us, even the movement-oriented ones, are usually fluent in one of the two. The first language is anatomy, and it's objective, it's scientific, it's the language of structures and actions, of what your femur is doing, how your hamstrings are open or not, hip flexion, spinal extension, you know all of these terms, right? And it describes what the body is doing from the outside. So if someone were to objectively, with a video camera, record what's happening, this is what a physiotherapist can use, a doctor can use, this is what a yoga teacher can use. But the second language is the felt sense. It's the one that's entirely yours. It's the felt sense of what you're actually experiencing in your body right now. Whenever you move through a shape, in that moment, whatever your body is experiencing, that is the felt sense. It's the quality of your breath. It's the ache. It's the warmth. It's the pulling sensation. It's the stuck sensation. It's the open sensation. And I know these aren't medical terms, and they're not right or wrong. They're just your nervous system speaking to you in a non-verbal way, in a way that can't be quantified or put into like words. And so here's the problem that we face. We live in a world that rewards the first language, but almost dismisses the second language entirely. And so we're trained from childhood to override this felt sense and to just keep going. We're told, don't be so sensitive, something's aching, don't keep complaining, it's just in your head, it'll go away. So we do, we learn to override it, sometimes for days, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, and we become so good at overriding these feelings and just doing our work and completing the things that we're supposed to do. And then we begin to wonder why our body feels like a stranger, why we can't land in a yoga pose and our mind keeps thinking, why we can't just be there and be quiet, because there's no signal that's coming from the body that you can trust, no sensation that feels safe enough to inhibit and just be like, oh wait, that's okay. And so the racing mind is not the problem. It's actually the disconnection from your body that's the real problem. And the racing mind is just what happens when the body goes silent or you're not able to hear these signals. So it goes on to something else. And if you've ever been in a forward fold and you've thought, oh my gosh, my hamstrings are so tight, I need to stretch them more, then you feel that pulling, that resistance, and your brain immediately translates it as tight means short, short means needs more stretching. But what if that translation is wrong? What if you're not reading the right signals? So think of a rubber band, right? Now there's two people holding this rubber band and each one is pulling it apart over like really, really far away. And the rubber band is now under tremendous tension. You can literally feel how taut it is. And is it short? No, it's actually at its longest point. Now, what would you do if you wanted to release the tension in this rubber band? Would you pull it further apart because it needs a stretch? No, you would bring the two ends closer. You would somehow shorten it to release the tension. And your muscles work exactly the same way. And so when a muscle is lengthened, when it's being stretched, the tension actually increases. And that feeling of tightness that you have in your hamstrings after a forward fold, that might actually simply be the feeling of the muscle at its full length. And the answer might not be in stretching it more or going deeper into the forward fold. It might be to stretch less, to do less. Now, why am I telling you this in a video that I said is about your racing thoughts and how to stop, thinking so much? Because it's that same kind of misreading that we constantly do every single day. I feel something, and therefore, I think I know what it means. And this happens everywhere in your body all the time, and we're misreading the signals. We're not able to read the language and comprehend it correctly. And you feel this tension in your chest, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious, I need to go to the doctor and take a few pills. You have this heaviness in your limbs, and you're like, I shouldn't do yoga because I just feel like, this is too much for my body right now. You call yourself numb when actually you just haven't been able to connect with your body. So what if the sensations themselves, that achiness, that pulling sensation, they're not right or wrong, they're just sensations. And the problem isn't that you have too many feelings, it's that no one ever taught you how to actually read them and how to comprehend them correctly. And so when I first started teaching yoga, I was technically very good. I was a good practitioner. I knew my stuff. I knew the sequence. I was good at alignment. I could talk about philosophy for hours. And I was excited, and I was young, and I was really excited about this. But I had almost no relationship with this felt sense in my body because I was so externally focused on how the shapes looked. And I remember being in Marichasana C. This was the first time I'd taken a proper Ashtanga retreat in person. And my teacher was just came up to me and was like, so, what do you feel? And me, I was like, oh, maybe he's just quizzing me to see if I understood, what was coming for the exam correctly. And I was like, my thoracic spine is rotating, my hip flexors are lengthened. And I literally went off into what was happening. And I was trying to explain what was happening in the pose. And then he just looked at me and said, I didn't ask you what's happening. I didn't ask you the anatomical sense of what are you doing in your body. I asked you how you feel. And I didn't have an answer. And I was just like, I don't know. I didn't have a real sense of connection to what I was feeling in that twist because I just pushed myself into the deepest variation of the twist that I thought I could do. And then I stayed there trying to breathe and do all of the right things. But the truth was, I wasn't inside the pose. I was just observing myself doing the pose from this anatomical teacher's point of view. And there's a difference between knowing a shape and actually inhabiting a shape. From doing yoga from the neck up by correcting, analyzing, performing, and not actually practicing yoga. And off the mat, I was doing the same things with all of my emotions. So I was easily able to analyze them, I was categorize them, I could explain them to myself, I could tell a friend about it, but I was almost never truly, really deeply feeling them. I was never truly able to just be with them, if you know what I mean. And so what changed everything for me was learning how to use the same felt sense, first in the practice, and then with my emotions outside of the practice. So having emotions and the things that come up, the resistances that come up in your practice, it's not a problem to solve. It's not something to just get rid of so that you can go through the shapes. It's very much a language to learn. And so the ancient yogis had this concept called Pratyahara. Prati means against, ahara means the things that we take in. It's the fifth limb of the 8 limbs of the Patanjali yoga system, and it's known for learning how to withdraw the senses inwards. So it's not withdrawing the senses like you're just shutting yourself away from the world. It's very much pulling them inwards towards the self, the deeper, unchanging self, towards what is actually in here right now beneath all of the noise that the mind comes up with. And so when most people think of Pratyahara, they think, I need to block out the world, I need to not party anymore, not go out anymore, not do any of those things because now I'm a yogi. But what it actually means is just learning to receive your inner signals, checking in with yourself. Am I okay to go here? What is happening? inside and listening to that signal very clearly over the outer signals that are coming in. So all of this sounds great on paper, but how do we apply this practically from today on our mat? And I want you to be able to use this 5-step inquiry system. I developed this for my students inside my program, but now I'm giving it to you for free. And the first step is to just be able to observe your felt sensations. So you come into the posture, let's say you're in a standing forward fold. And instead of immediately assessing your alignment or like fixing yourself from the outside, simply ask, what am I aware of right now? Where in my body do I feel the sensation? Is it pulling? Is it dull? Is it warm? Is there somewhere that like just feels stuck? Or is there no signal at all? I want you to just get a reading of it. You're not fixing, you're simply just becoming aware of it. You're just noticing. And this is satya or truthfulness. It's the truth of where you actually are and what you're experiencing, not what you should be or where you should be. It's just this breath, this moment, what am I feeling? Now the second step is to observe the visual patterns. Now without moving, without changing anything, just look or feel with the spotlight of your attention at how your body is arranged in the position. Is one hip slightly higher than the other? You're doing this inside, this is introception. Is the weight between both your feet even? Or is there something on one side that's not quite equal on the other side? And this is the objective layer. You're just gathering information, you're not changing anything else, you're not doing anything else, you're not making any judgments about yourself, you're just like data points gathering information about yourself. Now step number 3 is to form a hypothesis. Now I want you to think of yourself as a scientist with a lab coat doing an experiment. You bring your knowledge of anatomy, your understanding of the body, and you simply ask, what might be causing this thing that I'm feeling? If there's like a tension in the back of my neck, maybe I'm noticing, I'm doing this with my chin instead of lifting my head up and dropping my chin down. So you're not fixing it. You're not actually doing anything to change it. You're just thinking and hypothesizing. What am I doing that could be causing this feeling? And this is swadhyaya, this is self-study, which is one of the niyamas. But essentially, this is an inquiry toward yourself. And then we come to step 4. Now, step 4 is essentially to test the hypothesis. I want you to make just one change, one tiny shift in the way that you're holding the shape. And then notice, did anything shift? Did anything change? Did the quality of the sensation shift? And now you're actually having a conversation with your body. You're not performing, you're not correcting, you're simply listening and then you're responding. And this is where you actually begin to gently nudge your body into a slightly more open or slightly more like easy version of the shape. And then step 5, and this is the hardest one, is to give it time and then reevaluate. So this is the one that most people skip because they do it in one practice and then they forget about it. They make the change and then they don't feel this instant shift and then they decide, okay, this is not working, I should try something else. But the nervous system doesn't change on your timeline. So give each adjustment a little bit of time. Come back to it tomorrow, come back to it the next day, and then really honestly reassess. Has something changed inside of me? Has something shifted? And then you can form a new hypothesis and then you can test the whole thing once again. And the goal here is to just stay curious. And what I want you to notice is this entire process requires you to be present with your body, really listening to your sensations. You cannot observe a felt sense in your body if your mind is busy making a to-do list or is too busy worrying about yesterday's conversation. You cannot form a genuine hypothesis and be this kind of scientist if you're just planning what to make for dinner or your mind is already somewhere else. So do it at a time when you're a little bit more available to yourself. And this process itself, the minute you start this kind of scientific inquiry, it becomes a meditation. Your body becomes an object of your attention and you become so curious about what's happening inside that it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside. And slowly over time, you'll start to notice what you feel. Not just what you think you feel, not just what you say you feel, but what is actually happening in your body moment to moment. And whenever you're in that next difficult conversation with your partner, instead of going straight into your thoughts, you just check in with your body and say, what is my body feeling in this moment? And then there's a new layer of consciousness that becomes available to you. You can feel your feet on the ground, you can feel the feeling of the breath, you can notice like what's happening, whether there's a tension in your jaw before you speak. And you're training this capacity on the mat each and every time you do this kind of pratyahara. You withdraw the senses and you notice and you form these little hypotheses. And so you don't have to follow that thought spiral or like go and just react to that thing, because you have somewhere else to land. You have this information that's coming from your body, this direct two-way conversation that you can listen to and that you can trust. And this is what somatic healing really means. I know that that word is thrown around a lot today, but I want to demystify the phrase because it's become so trendy and it often loses its meaning when it becomes popular. Somatic simply means the body, and somatic healing is a process of learning how to listen to the body's signals, the sensations, the tension, the patterns, the way that the breath is moving, and use that as a doorway to come back to the present moment, to drop into the present moment. And it's almost like a very powerful way of processing these emotions and things that come up in a way that verbal speaking or writing or the mind just can't process on its own. And so you're not disconnected because something is wrong with you or like, you're just too stimulated. It's just that you haven't been able to read the signals or understand the language that your body has been speaking. And if this video woke up a part of you that's just been waiting for something to come along to tell you how to read these signals, then I want to invite you to go deeper. The Yoga Mastery Program is where I teach this in full depth. I even give you the worksheets and so on. It's not just concepts, but it's a living, embodied practice that helps you come home to your body, your mind, and build this relationship with your felt sense that will completely change the way that you move through the world. The link is in the description below to book a free discovery call with me. There is no pressure at all. It's just a conversation where we understand where you are and see if I can genuinely help you get to where you want to be. And if this message landed for you in some way, please share it with a friend. Please share with someone who can't sleep, who's, just been like not able to switch off. This will really help a lot more people. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.